Good morning, students. Welcome back to social science class. In social science, you are learning the fourth chapter from history, ancient civilizations of the world. In the previous class, you have learned about Egyptian civilization. You have understood the political, social, economical, and religious conditions of Egyptian civilization and their contributions like pyramids and sphinx. You have understood the reason behind constructing the pyramids and mummification of the body, how it was done, and what is the intention to mummify the body. Along with this, you have also understood reasons for the decline of civilization. Today, you are going to learn two more civilizations, that is the Mesopotamia civilization and the Chinese civilization. In this class, you will understand their political, economical, social, religious conditions and their contributions to the world. Let us start with the Mesopotamia civilization. We have learnt Egyptian civilization in detail. It is certain that the people of early civilization learnt many things from Egyptians. At the same time, they also made new discoveries to enrich their civilization. Now, let us study the contribution of Mesopotamians to the world. The Mesopotamian civilization. The Mesopotamian civilization developed on the fertile stretched land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. You have understood that many civilizations took birth near the river areas. Even like that, even the Mesopotamia civilization also took birth between the two rivers, that is Tigris and Euphrates. In the map you can see the purple color names Euphrates and Tigris, and then rivers are marked in the blue color. So it is originated between the two rivers, that is Euphrates and Tigris. Mesopotamia is a Greek word which means the land between the two rivers. These plains were fertile, and not only that, it became a cradle of many civilizations which developed and vanished around 3500 BCE to 500 BCE. What is the area of Mesopotamia civilization? Mesopotamia includes the area of present eastern Syria, southern Turkey, and most of Iraq. In the map you can see Syria, Syria, southern Turkey, and most of the parts of Iraq. Mesopotamia is called as the cradle and graveyard of civilization. This place gave birth to civilization and simultaneously it became the cause for civilization. That's why it is called the cradle and graveyard of civilization. It was a center of culture whose influence extended up to India and Egypt. It says that they had a contact between Egyptian civilization and also with the Indus Valley civilization. Let us come to their political life. Five important races shaped the culture and civilization of Mesopotamia. They are Sumerians, Akkadians, Amorites or Old Babylonians, Assyrians, Chaldeans or New Babylonians. Once again, I'll repeat: Sumerians, Akkadians, Amorites or Old Babylonians, Assyrians, Chaldeans or New Babylonians. Sumerians were the pioneers of Mesopotamia civilization. They had first settled in area called Sumer, so they are called Sumerians. Akkadians settled in northwest of Shinar and also known as Akkad, and they were called Akkadians. Amorites or the Old Babylonians, they established their empire by destroying Akkadians, and not only that, they made Babylon as their capital. Emperor Hammurabi was the greatest king and lawmaker of this race, and you are going to learn about Hammurabi in detail later. Next is Assyrians. Assyrians revived the glory of Mesopotamia. Sargon II was a famous ruler among this race. The last one is Chaldeans or New Babylonians. Nebuchadnezzar was the greatest ruler from this race and who built huge brick fort and Babylon a hanging garden. You will also learn in detail about Nebuchadnezzar. Let us see the structure of Mesopotamians. Mesopotamians established city-states first, which developed into kingdoms, later into an empire. King was both the head of administration and religion. Kings were regarded as a representative of God on the earth, like Egyptians. He was a head of the state and owner of the property of the state. He ruled the state in the name of God itself. Many a time, king's authority fell into the hands of military officers, but only the powerful rulers were able to control all these military officers. And after this, let us come to important ruler of Mesopotamia, that is Hammurabi. Emperor Hammurabi. Emperor Hammurabi was the greatest king and lawmaker among Amorites. He was a great conqueror and not only that, an able administration. He united Sumer and Akkad and divided the provinces into districts. He built palaces, temples and fortified Babylon. Hammurabi has become immortal in the history of mankind by his code of law. More than his administration, he became very popular because of his code of law. He collected all existing laws, classified them, improved them, added new ones and codified them into one body of laws. The code included totally 282 laws. The laws were related to all aspects of the life such as personal property, trade, business, accidents, labor, marriage, divorce, and rights of men and women, and also about slavery. The code is beautifully engraved on the black stone. It is the oldest written code of law known to history. Many of his laws were based on the principle of tit for tat, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. That means very rigid laws were framed to control the crime. The code is aimed at providing equality irrespective of rich or poor. It was equal to all. Women were given the right to own the property and inherit ancestral property. Here, lot of importance was given to women. Punishments were harsh for the people who were well placed and prosperous. That means the people who are there in the hierarchy, they were also able to get the punishments, and the punishment and penalties were severe. Efforts were made to avoid discrimination between rich and poor. They used to maintain the documents. If a doctor failed in his duty, he had to pay compensation to the patient. And Code of Hammurabi influenced other kings elsewhere in the world to pass similar laws. And not only that, even today many of the Islam countries follow the codes given by Hammurabi. The main intention of creating such codes are to avoid crimes and give a peaceful administration. He was successful in that. All these codes were engraved on the rocks and it was placed near the marketplace and busy areas, and people were quite oftenly used to observe these codes, and this made them to avoid performing crimes. As I said that punishments were severe, that's why people were a little bit afraid to perform the crime. And all this made Hammurabi very popular, and even today we remember Hammurabi for his code of law. Next, social condition. Mesopotamian society was divided into 4 groups. In the first group, the royals were there. Second group, the priest class. Third, rich landlords and merchants were there. In the fourth group, slaves were there. Women enjoyed considerable freedom with the right to property. They had social, religious and economic freedom. So these are the good points about Mesopotamia civilizations, so political administration. Next, let us move to the next important ruler, Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was the greatest king who built huge brick fort around Babylon and a hanging garden, who belongs to Chaldean race. He constructed palace which is known as Hanging Gardens of Babylon. It was considered as one of the 8 wonders of ancient world. It was a huge palace with variety of gardens on the roof of it. Let us know the reason behind why it was created. There is a legend about creation of hanging gardens. Nebuchadnezzar's wife Amithis was from Maid. It is said that Nebuchadnezzar got the gardens built in order to console his wife who was missing the beautiful environment of hills, trees and flowers of her motherland. Some scholars say that the gardens were created by Assyrian queen Samuramat, but the records will say that it was created by Nebuchadnezzar. The gardens did not hang in the air. The trees and bushes were grown at different levels of the ziggurat. When the branches hung at different levels and swayed, they used to give an impression of being hanging garden. So hence it is called hanging garden. The Euphrates River provided water for these gardens. This is the story behind hanging gardens. Children, after knowing this, let us move to the next version. Religion. What was the religion? How the religion was performed in Mesopotamia civilization. Mesopotamians worshipped the sun and the moon and the forces of nature. They were also nature worshippers like Egyptians. Along with that, they also worshipped many gods and goddesses. Every village and city had local deity, and they built special structures called ziggurats, which is considered as a temples with tall towers, and it was also center of education. They used to follow cuneiform writing. The cuneiform writing means cone form writing. Do you remember, children? Egyptians used to write. Egyptians writing was called as hieroglyphics, and here they call it as cuneiform writing. They used flat bricks for writing, which is known as cuneiform writing. They composed many myths, legends and poems. Their epic of Gilgamesh is a rich poetry. In this picture you can see the image of ziggurat. What are the ziggurats exactly? Ziggurats, it is constructed to get the temple closer to the heaven and provide access from the ground to it via steps. The Mesopotamians believed that these pyramid temples connected heaven and earth. It is built to honor the main god of the city. The tradition of building ziggurat was started by Sumerians, and later it was continued by other people. They did not know how to build stairs, and therefore they surrounded them with the sloping galleries. Here you can see sloping galleries. The Jews called these as the Towers of Babel. Ziggurats were constructed with baked bricks. Baked bricks were used to construct the ziggurat. And not, as I said, that it is a temple and education center. Not only that, it was also considered as scientific research center also. Why? Because the people used to climb the towers and watch the celestial bodies, and they used to worship sun, moon from their place. Okay, so after this, let us come to their economic condition. What was the economy followed by them? How was the economic conditions? Agriculture, as usual, was their main occupation, and along with that, cattle rearing and dairy farming was there. They used to raise buffaloes, goats, horses, donkeys, sheep, etc. And not only that, wheat, barley, fruit, dates were grown, and it was exported to other places. Weaving, dyeing, woodwork, pottery, brickmaking, jewelry, mining and metallurgy were known to them. Copper, iron, silver, gold and bronze were the metals which was known to them. They had trade relations between India and Egypt. Horse and asses were used as means of transport. After knowing all this, let us know the causes for decline. Why this civilization declined? Weak and inefficient rulers often lost the control over administration. This led to anarchy. Anarchy means unruly condition. And not only this, struggle for succession among nobles disturbed the peace and order in the society. And invasion by Persians led to the end of this civilization. Mesopotamia became the part of Persian Empire by 538 BCE. In this way, Mesopotamia civilization ended. Let us know the next civilization, the Chinese civilization. It is very interesting to know that civilizations have developed only in those parts of the world where it was possible for men to live without too great struggle and yet not too easy. The conditions of moderate difficulties are favorable for men to develop intelligence and improve civilization. The river plains of Huanghe in northern China and Yangtze and Sikiang in southern China provided moderate challenges and minimum facilities to develop a civilization. Chinese developed a unique civilization by 5000 BCE. It is the oldest civilization which continues till today. China is a country of variety of physical features. It lies between Himalayas in the west, Pacific Ocean in the east, and desert in the north. It has a wide variety of flora and fauna. China is inhabited by Mongoloid race. In the map you can see that Himalayan mountains are there, Pacific Ocean, and in between China is located, and Gobi Desert other side is there. So within this location, Chinese developed a different and unique civilization. Which river was responsible for the development of civilization means, as earlier I just told you, Huanghe River in northern China, Yangtze and Sikiang in southern China. In the picture very clearly you can see that Huanghe River, which is also called as Yellow River. The Yellow River flooded so often that it earned its name China's sorrow for number of deaths caused. This river usually used to change its course, and that's why many people used to die. Not only that, it used to cause destruction of property. That is why it is called China's sorrow. The ancient Chinese civilization grew on the banks of the river Huanghe around 3,700 years ago. Huanghe River was known as the China's sorrow, as I told you that it used to distract the life and not only that property of the people. That's why it is called China's sorrow. More than 15 dynasties ruled China from 2100 BCE to 1911 CE. The Shang and the Zhou dynasty played major role in the development of culture and tradition. One of the most famous rulers were Shi Huangdi. He brought all the varying tribes together and built a mighty empire. He started the construction of Great Wall of China to protect his kingdom from the attacks of Huns and Mongols, etc. Shi Huangdi, the greatest ruler of China, belongs to Qin dynasty. Shi means the first and Huangdi means the emperor. So Shi Huangdi means the first emperor. He ruled from Qin province and he adopted the name Qin Shi Huangdi. The name China comes from Qin. Let us know in detail about Shi Huangdi. Shi Huangdi started the construction of Great Wall of China to protect his kingdom from the attacks of Huns and Mongols. He introduced uniform laws throughout the country. He divided the country into 36 provinces, appointed civil and military officers to each province. He travelled in disguise to understand the ills and disorders of the empire and constructed roads and canals to connect far areas of the empire. He believed that people are basically indisciplined. That is why he introduced very strict laws and harsh punishments. In this regard, you can remember Hammurabi. The emperor was for change and against the old order. He was always interested in the change and he was against the old order. That's why what he did, he tried to control the knowledge, old knowledge, by burning the books. And he encouraged scientists but opposed the historians. Do you know, children? Many scholars who opposed him were buried alive in the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall of China has many stories. The Shang king spent quite an amount of time in conquest and battles. Hence, the army was in a prominence. The soldiers enjoyed a dignified place in the society. Soldiers wore bronze helmets and metal armors. The bronze daggers, axes, bows, and iron tipped arrows which they used have been found in many places. Let us come to the social life or social conditions of Chinese. The Chinese society, sorry, the Chinese society had four classes based on the nature of work of the people. The top class included officials, scholars, and teachers. Second class comprised of farmers, artists. Second class comprised of farmers, and artists formed the third class. Merchants formed the last. Girls were considered as a burden to the family. The position of a woman was not so high when it compared to two other civilizations. Anyhow, women commanded respect based on her fertility, workmanship, and obedience. Let us come to economic condition. Chinese society was an agriculture based society and they used agricultural implements made of iron and wood. Wheat, rice, soya beans, cereals were the main agricultural crops. Tea and horticultural crops were also grown. Carpenters, smiths, woodcutters, masons, potters, weavers formed the important craftsmen. Silk was an important contribution of China to the world. China had trade relations with the West through a land route via Afghanistan and Persia and also through Indian Ocean which is known as Silk Route. Let me repeat. China had trade relations with West through a land route via Afghanistan and Persia and also through Indian Ocean which is known as Silk Route even today. They learned to grow cotton from Indians. Silk, iron, tea, salt and cotton products were the main items of export. In early days they followed barter system and later they used metals as medium of exchange. Coin money came to be used in around 5th century BCE. Money lending and banking were practiced in China from 5th century BCE itself. Let us come to their literature. Chinese had developed the art of writing during Shang period itself and they have no alphabet and parts of speech. Chinese literature, its script contains characteristics which are more than 40,000. Chinese writing started writing started as pictograph. Pictograph means picture indicating writing. The invention of paper, silk and ink for writing helped in the growth of writing and also developing literature. Chinese had developed geography, geometry, arithmetic, calendars, astronomy and they were also able to predict the eclipse. Let us come to religion. Chinese were worshippers of nature. They worshipped the earth, heaven, sun, moon, stars, and other aspects of nature. The earth god was named as Si and the god of crops as Qi by Chinese. Shangti was another famous god of Chinese. The Chinese worshipped their ancestors by organizing family fest. They did not offer any prayer to help the dead. Rather, they believed that the dead would help the living. It was a custom of Chinese to worship their ancestors. They believed that a dead man became a spirit and that the spirit had special powers. The dead body was buried along with various wooden articles, pots, bronze vessels, and other objects. The tombs of kings used to be quite large. They built Buddhist temples called pagodas. Important among them are giant wild goose pagoda, Zed pagoda, and the flask pagoda. The temple of sleeping Buddha outside Peking present is noteworthy. It is in Beijing. Let us come to architecture and contributions of Chinese. The Great Wall of China is an everlasting architectural accomplishment. They built Buddhist temples called pagoda. As I said that this temple of sleeping Buddha outside Peking, present Beijing, is a noteworthy place. And when it comes to their inventions, Chinese have contributed much to the world. Silk, tea, ink, paper, brush for painting and writing, and then gunpowder, pottery, porcelain, and rockets are the best contributions of Chinese to the world. Along with this, they also invented seismograph and mariner's compass, etc. Porcelain. Porcelain is a wonderful contribution. It is believed that porcelain originated in China. Semi-porcelain objects were in use from 1600 BCE by the time of the reign of Han dynasty. Let us know in detail about the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall of China is one of their most impressive and everlasting architectural accomplishment. It was purely built for ut- utili- it is purely built for purpose of protecting the country from Huns, Mongolians, and other invasions. It is 2380 kilometers long and about 22 feet high and 20 feet broad. After every 300 feet, a watchtower of 400 feet high is built. It is one of the wonders of the ancient world. It is not popular among Chinese because as forced laborers were used to construct it. There also they use laborers, that means the people who are laborers, and sometimes even the criminals were used to construct it. The portions of the Great Wall were rebuilt and reconstructed by later dynasties. So the wall is still standing. When the work was completed, it stretched to more than 5,000 kilometers. It is one of the seven wonders of the world. Till today, it is still and it has become amazing structure. Children, with this we have come to an end of the lesson. In today's class, you have understood the two great civilizations, that is Mesopotamia civilization and the Chinese civilization. You have understood their political, economical, social, religious conditions. Along with that, you have also understood their contributions. And before I conclude, let me speak about the assignment and evaluation. You have to complete this, match the following what is given, match the A with the B, and then after that you have an assignment, list the inventions of Chinese. Try to write any 25 inventions of Chinese. in your homework book. Children, as usual, I hope you have understood the lesson. If you have any queries, please put it in a WhatsApp group and try to complete the assignments and evaluation in your homework book without fail. And notes will be given later. And that's all for today. Let me meet in the next class. Till that, take care and happy learning for you, children. Thank you.